Mara stock has a lot of potential, 100 plus percent upside from current levels. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean. I'm going to go over how this can happen using Bitcoin because we all know, and then I'm going to jump into Mara stock in just a moment. But we all know that Mara is increasing their Bitcoin holdings. Their exposure is growing. And when Bitcoin finally truly enters that euphoria stage and we start moving higher, Mara will follow and it's going to be amazing. But short term, what could we be looking for to set up for that massive throughout 2025 year pump, right? So here's the thing, right? We all know there's a lot of negative um, concerns in the market overall due to tariffs, fear of a recession, and potentially higher inflation. But we all know that this is temporary. So what does that mean? That means that tariffs are temporary. They're not going to be around forever. It's just a negotiation tactic at the end of the day, in my opinion, and that unfortunately drops the price. But in the good way of viewing it is that you get to buy these amazing assets at a much cheaper price. So right now, I'm gonna go over Bitcoin real quick. I'm gonna go over the bigger picture. What can we be looking forward to, and how that's gonna influence Mara's, right? So this is all gonna be very valuable information if you guys are looking to invest in Mara if you are not already. So in 2024, we had a mini multi-month price action of sideways consolidation, sort of downtrending, due to inflation fears and higher interest rates, and wary of also a recession during that time. What happened? Well, we continue to see lower lows, lower highs forming. Eventually, things improve. Like I expect things with tariffs to eventually improve. Eventually, we saw right here, things started changing. We had our first higher low in a while. And then from there, we started making higher highs and higher lows. Eventually, boom, the price pumps, and we're back at this new stage. Right now, we're not seeing anything different. We have recession fears. We still have a lot of overall fear, potentially of fear of inflation going up, and the Federal Reserve being forced to maybe raise rates. But there is a caveat there. Jobs are very weak, so they're going to have a tough time raising interest rates when it comes to that. But we'll see how the future unfolds. The one thing I am very personally certain is that as fear continues to evolve, we eventually will pass it and things will get better. And these discounted levels will be part of the past, just like these discounted levels here. Like I bet a lot of people, because I don't even remember all, and I was holding during this whole time. Eventually it pops, and I don't remember it. Eventually, same thing here. We have this massive dip. We eventually won't remember it. But what's going to cause Mara to go up, right? Well, that's increased institutional adoption, government states buying more Bitcoin, more just a lot more adoption of big companies around the world. A lot of this deep value Bitcoin is being bought up and hodled, which means that once we do finally pass this fear in the broad market right now, due to a lot of the deep value Bitcoin being bought up, once retail jumps back in, once retail isn't scared anymore, that's just going to push the price much higher. A lot of the deep value Bitcoins being bought up, retail would then boost that rally higher, right? Back into 100K and making new highs. The thing is though, there is some short-term weakness in Bitcoin, and it's going to influence Mara as well. But the thing is, we are trying to create a third wave higher in this macro, structure right here as a way to form a continuation, more evidence of a continuation of a bullish trend to finally work our way back up into previous fluctuative areas up here over 100K. In order for this to happen, there's either two things that are going to happen. We are just going to eventually, we had a first wave up, second wave down. We're on that third wave. As of right now, the price has been consolidating sideways, pretty much flat for a while. And we're either going to break higher to try to complete that third wave within this green structure, or we're going to go down, try to find support here before we move higher. If we fail to find support within this orange retracement, I would not be surprised if bearish volume increases And instead we have a one more low. We had a low here, a lower low here, and then we just one more low somewhere between, as of this moment, somewhere between 73 to 75K will be reasonable. And then from there we'll move higher. So we can either move higher now or move higher a little bit later, creating that, one more deep value opportunity before we can start pushing up higher. Soon enough, we will be higher, and a lot of this will be in the past. But how this influences Mara, here's the thing, right? So we know that Mara tried testing, and I said this in previous videos, Mara tried testing this area, successfully tested it, although in the discounted portions, there's not enough high volume candles, not enough momentum to really hold the area, and it's slightly above this long-term supportive trend line. As you can see, this trend line is very, very important. We were holding above this quite well until Terror Fears and Bybit hack really ended up just crashing it and trading underneath it. We haven't traded underneath this trend line in a very, very long time. But with this being said, we have strong resistance on the move up before we can go ahead and try to retest this area. So we can find resistance right here before we have one more little bit of a retest on deep value before we push up higher. This is very strong resistance. Two retracements overlapping, and you have the 120 moving average there that can potentially act as a resistance. But the thing is, we can either start pushing up higher, hold this area, break it, and finally retest this green area to confirm bullish momentum. But instead, if Bitcoin does decide to have this like a third deep value test support opportunity, this can easily push Mara into this super deep, strong accumulation value area down here. This area is, in my opinion, a no-brainer accumulation area because it's extremely discounted, and that it of course will be influenced due to Bitcoin falling down into deep value before it can potentially build enough momentum to go higher. And eventually, we will stop retesting these deep discounted areas because it's just not sustainable. It's too discounted. A lot of that deep value Bitcoin is already being bought up. It can't really hold that area much longer, and that's mainly due to the supply and demand factor of it. But we can easily see if that were to happen, that will create a really, really good fill in this deep value area down here for Mara, creating that deep value low, no-brainer buying opportunity before we can finally push up higher and try to retest even deeper this green area up here, so we can start to create momentum, so we can start finally trading up into the high teens and then start breaking into the 20s once again. But the thing is, the purpose of this video is to talk about the overall 2025 picture, right? We know Bitcoin is going to go much higher. There's just a lot of fear in the macro world right now. Eventually that will fade away and Bitcoin will be trading much, much higher. We can easily hit 150K, easily, in my opinion. And eventually that will cause Mara, because again, Mara is increasing their exposure to Bitcoin. They're holding onto much more Bitcoin over time. They continue to increase that. So eventually that exposure will translate into the stock price when Bitcoin finally pumps up hard, which means we won't just be in the 20s, but it's very, very possible, in my opinion, that we can easily break into the 30s and even a little bit into the 40s and actually see some price action into the 40s throughout this year. Not this month, most likely not next month either, but soon enough, due to the deep value discounted nature of this stock right now, of course, due to Bitcoin being down a lot. When Bitcoin starts to pump, Mara is going to pump very aggressively as well. And it's just a matter of time eventually when this will happen. Supply and demand is very strong on the demand side, and a lot of that deep value of Bitcoin is being bought up. So finally, when that fear starts to fade away due to macro stuff, Bitcoin will start trading up higher. Will start influencing Mara to go back higher, and then we'll be testing those 20s, 30s easily throughout this year. And this is like, even if we just reach 30, for example, from current prices, this is, where is this at? Exactly 30 is 129% upside from here. And this can take a few months, of course. 2025, we're still early in the year. We're still in Q1. we have a bit to go until this Bitcoin bull cycle is over. But imagine where Mara could potentially be with their increased exposure to Bitcoin. Eventually, when Bitcoin is like up at like 150K. So Mara has a lot of upside potential. They really have that. They're growing their productivity. Their hash rate's growing. They're doing a great job. They really are, and they're increasing their Bitcoin exposure, which means they will be ready to benefit from that once Bitcoin finally pumps up higher. And when Bitcoin does pump up higher and it's trading at much higher levels, during that time, as Mara keeps mining more Bitcoin, they have much more margin profit from every Bitcoin they mine, and their quarterly reports are just going to look amazing. Q1 of this year, when they report it next quarter, is going to look a little bit rough because we have traded lower. So it's going to be, it most likely will be lower than the Q4 of 2024 report. But that does not shy away from the potential they have later this year. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.